we were kind of having a bit of a chitter-chatter backwards and forwards on the group chat, as we always do. A couple of spicy opinions going on normally. But this game for me felt a little bit flat. There's been a lot of narratives around it being a game of chess, a tactical battle between two juggernauts. But I was looking at that thinking, Christ, when's something gonna happen? There were obviously some big moments in the game that we'll talk about, but the big moments were interspersed with long periods of just cagey football, no one quite taking the sort of risks that we wanted these teams to take, given how, confident we've seen them perform in recent games, how much is at stake. It just felt a little bit meh. Am I right thinking that? Did you feel the same way?
Yeah, it didn't kind of live up to what I expected it to live up to. I expected a little bit more. I definitely didn't think that would be the game that ended 0-0 after 90 minutes. Mm-hmm. I think both sides, as you said, had chances, but they never, they both had shots on target. Both created chances. Both had, exciting moments at times, but it just never really felt like it took off. So yeah, perhaps slightly underwhelming, but maybe we expected too much from these two after a long tournament.
True story. I mean, now obviously it means that Spain will face England in the final on Sunday. Another England-Spain matchup. We've seen quite a few of those in the last year or so. And you never really know which way the game's going to go, to be fair. So it's been quite balanced, which is good for both of us going into this. Obviously, after beating Germany for the very first time, which is a massive, massive win for Spain. Obviously, the way in which it unfolded. So we had pretty much 112 minutes of football that was a little bit cagey. Like I said, kind of a few definitely good chances that we'll definitely touch on. Bonmati then breaking the deadlock in the second half of extra time when she caught Anne-Katrin at her near post. It kind of looked like she'd kind of gone to the byline. It looked like she was going to maybe cross it and it was going to be a cutback. So I think Anne-Katrin was set and she was pointing towards one of her defenders. I can't make out which, but she obviously had a sort of right eye on what was going on the pitch. Left eye trying to keep in, and that's a goalkeeper's dilemma. You've got to have eyes and ears everywhere, but she's split in that moment. There's a bit of distraction from her, and then she's beaten at the near post. Aitana Bonmati then squeezes it in between Anne-Katrin and that near post. Bonmati, obviously we're not taking anything away from her, but she claimed afterwards that she'd studied the goalkeeper and knew that she'd stepped away from her near post. I mean, that's, obviously you do study goalkeepers. Like if you're a striker, that's one of the things that you would do. But that's quite to literally pin all of your, strategy around Anne-Katrin being caught at the near post. It seems a little, I don't know, a little kind of sus.
Well done. If that's what you did, that's very, very impressive to be able to. Yeah, the game kind of did feel a bit like, just as it crept on, that it had extra time written all over it, and it needed a moment of magic to kind of break that deadlock. I did feel, despite Germany having less possession and creating less, they still felt like they had a goal in them. So it was still kind of difficult to call, even in extra time, where it was going to go. But I did think it was going to require something special. And it's a bit of a shame that it came from a near post for the, Anne-Katrin, who's had the last couple of games been so good for Germany and had some unbelievable saves in this game as well. For that to be the goal for her, I guess, to let it in her near post, she'll be so disappointed.
I think it's that, she has had, and I think, Rach, you obviously picked up on it because, I do have the memory span of a goldfish. But, the last two games, obviously, we've seen her perform absolutely incredibly. She's been pivotal in Germany reaching the position that they did. Some of the saves that she's made have obviously been, the turning points in games. And in the opening, few minutes or so, I think it was Gonzalez, fired an absolute rocket, middle of the goal, which is obviously easier for Anne-Katrin to get to. But at the same time, the pace of it and where Anne-Katrin was standing meant that she could kind of tip it over. I mean, I've got to say, she did make it look a little bit dramatic. She pushed it over and kind of dropped to the floor. And I was like, that's one of those saves that you can easily make, you can make it look more than it is.
Where's the drama in that, Chloe?
Yeah, all day. Fucking hell. I've done it myself. I've 100% done it myself. I'm not here throwing shade on dramatic saves. But also, she did have these pivotal moments in the games. She was coming out to claim balls. She was enjoying herself. There was a smile on her face when she was playing. It kind of felt like Germany might just nick the win because she seemed like she had that invincible cloak on again that she had for the previous game. I mean,
apparently her grandfather was in the crowd, and whether this is true or not, I'm not sure, but I did see a photograph and it did look an awful lot like her grandfather, who said he'd only come to a final and surprised her by coming to this one. So I hope that's true, but it did look very sweet. There was a whole, I don't know what you call a gaggle of burgers, but
a gaggle of burgers,
a mound of burgers, a group of burgers, and he was one of them. So that might have given her that little bit of extra inspiration. But no, she has spoken about how she's living her dream, and she was smiling from the anthem right the way through. But yeah, like part of me wondered whether she was playing for penalties. You know, I thought this whole 8-second goalkeeper rule was in place, but obviously it's not when AKB is in goal, because it definitely felt like she was killing some time at times in this game, and the crowd were getting really antsy with her and booing and whistling, and like part of me thought like you're creating, like you are having opportunities against Spain, would you not just want to fucking finish it as quickly as possible rather than potentially playing for penalties and then being the hero, I guess? But for me, I was just like, you are creating with long balls over the top and AKB sending them long, you know. But it did feel that there were times as the game went on, you know, some of her distribution wasn't excellent, like sending the ball to the Spanish players, and some of that can be down to the Spanish press as well. But I don't know whether there was a lapse in concentration for that goal to concede. But, you know, I think a lot of people are going to remember her heroics in this tournament rather than anything else.
Oh, 100%. And I think you've got to give her credit. Like, she has been absolutely pivotal in this German side. I think we also need to give flowers to Cata Coll, absolute hero between the sticks. I say, like, the entire game, like, she didn't have loads and loads to do all the time, but when she was called into action, what she did was absolutely brilliant. Right at the end of the 90 minutes, she kept out Clara Ball's deflected shot. So if you haven't seen this, definitely go and see it, because it's like, it's again kind of it's like the Anne-Katrin Berger save. Essentially, it was kind of a deflected shot, it ricocheted off of someone's foot, and then it kind of like looped over Cata Coll. She then backpedaling on her super fast, manages to claw it out of the goal with both hands, and then after she'd done that, then sort of like rights herself again and like saves another shot. I mean, the double save, like, that was absolutely pivotal.
For listeners' benefit who might not have seen it, her momentum took her like off her feet. She fell backwards into the net of the goal. So she wasn't just like in and around the goal mouth. She was in the fucking net at the back of the goal. And I think it was Vamser who was following up on the right. All she had to do was bury it. I was looking at it being like, oh my God, we're in the 90th minute. This is a definite goal. Like this, and suddenly Cata Coll was, maybe it's in the name, the reflexes, she was up on her feet at her near post within the space of about 0.3 seconds. Like, you're the goalkeeper. Tell me how difficult it is to not only just get from the ground up, but like she literally momentum backwards in the net. I bet you get feckin' tangled in that net all the time. Like, to be able to get out that quickly and be that reactive to someone taking a shot from so close, that was incredible.
I think a lot of like what happens in that moment is like your adrenaline kicks in, so things are sharper. Like, you end up like doing things that you didn't actually think would be possible if you were in a training session. And I think 100% like the having to, like, we talked about this before, kind of the core strength that it takes to like not only like go backwards but propel something forwards at the same time. And then she had her hand, it looked like it was almost going to get caught on the side netting, to then force yourself to go forward and then to get yourself set, and not only like come out like in that moment as well. Once you get in yourself set, you have to read the game situation and it's happening. Like, split second things are taking place. You have to read the speed of the ball, you have to read whether that ball again is going to be whipped across, so you've got to change your body position if it's going to be a cutback. But she anticipated that shot, and my God, like, that is a absolutely brilliant
at
bit
that
of
time of the
goalkeeping.
game as well.
100%. Like, you've been in it, like, you have had like quite very quiet periods, and then to stay that sharp, absolutely credit to her. I thought she was unbelievable.
She went on a feckin' adventure at one point. Did you see her? I think twice. Yeah, she took off out the goal. She was like playing defence. Like, she was up, like, ball at her feet, like taking on players, and AKB come up at one point. I was like, what is going on? What is in the water in this game?
Honestly, though, I mean, why not? You've kind of got to keep yourself in and around the game, and also like pressing yourself up and like being closer to defenders and like being able to communicate lets them know that you're there. So I wouldn't give any criticism to a goalkeeper wanting to take a little bit of a wander.
Pretty feckin' nervy. I was like, what are you doing this far up? Like, what? You're not even near your box. Like, you're out here on the left. What happened? Jesus. And she was surrounded as well. I was like, fuck. That takes
No,
some balls.
I like it. It's bravery. It's bravery. There were very few chances in this game. When the chances did come, I think they were brilliant. Germany created some chances in the first half with Clara Ball almost getting a 1v1 with the goalkeeper. And then Giovanni Hoffmann air kicking the ball. She was replacing Nuskin up front. But then Spain obviously started to take a lot of control at the end of the first half. I mean, Rach, were you predicting the game was going to go anyway by the time we'd hit half time? Or were you thinking, Christ, just more of the same, really?
Even by half-time, it was hard to call. I think the longer the game went on and Germany prevented Spain from scoring, the more chance they had of getting something out of the game, of winning the game. I wasn't hugely surprised by the chances they created. You know, they obviously recognised that direct runners and Hoffmann providing that a little bit of times caused Spain problems. Clara Bull was having an excellent game, but for the final finish. I think what let Germany down was their decision making in and around the final third. They'd get themselves into really good positions. They'd really look to be challenging the Spanish defence, and then they'd hit it wide or miss the ball or send it to the wrong person. And you're it's so hard to be creating those opportunities against Spain. So to be that kind of ineffective is quite disappointing because yeah, there were opportunities there, and I know they only had 4 shots on target to Spain's 9, but they created something like 15 maybe, and I think that's the disappointment, is actually to be able to get up into their box and to be able to get into their third and to be causing their backline that little bit of stress and to at times overload a little bit and not be able to capitalise. You can't do that against Spain, because when that one golden chance comes, and we spoke about this in the last pod about what Spain need to do and what they'll have learned from the Switzerland game, and that's patience. And I think they had that in abundance, and they didn't let themselves get frustrated like they did in the Switzerland game. They seemed to just kind of trust the process and know it would come. And I think that was really valuable for them last night because, yeah, as I said, not maybe the most electric game, maybe didn't play as well as they would have liked, but for them to know it'll come eventually is quite a dangerous kind of prospect.
I think that feels like the scariest thing about Spain, is that kind of confidence they have that no matter how close it gets to the end of a game or it going to extra time, that they will pull something out of the bag. There's a kind of, they never seem rushed or panicked, when you get to say for example the England game, you're 1-0 down, you get into the final few minutes of the game and it is panic stations and people are lofting balls forward, and understandably you're all guns blazing, it's the final roll of the dice, you've got to do those things, but there's never that kind of, I don't know, fear with Spain. They just seem so on the level and just very calm about it, and I think the patience that they have to see out games, that feels for me I don't know. I'm just very nervous. That's the nervousness that I have around the Lionesses game, because the Lionesses, I think if we drag this game on into extra time, it does feel like the longer the game goes on, the more likely it is that Spain will end up with the win. And that sounds really pessimistic, but I just think Spain have it in them to kind of do that and just, yeah.
And I think as well, for them to overcome, there's not very many hurdles left for Spain to overcome. In the kind of last maybe 3 years even, they've achieved so much. And I think obviously the Euros is the trophy they really want to get their hands on. But to have beaten Germany for the first time, to have gotten to a Euros final for the first time, they're 2 big things to shake off. And to be able to say you've done, and to just add to your confidence. So yeah, I think they're going to be really buoyed by the fact that they've got to this final. And, while I maybe expected a little bit of nerves in the semi-final, I'm not sure they'll necessarily be there in the final. I think they know the opponent inside out. They'll relish the occasion. They'll have looked at England's form across this tournament and think, actually, we might be all right here. So yeah, I think that's quite a scary prospect.
So this is the first time Germany have failed to win a Euro semi-final since 1993. They'd won their last 7 Euro semi-finals that they've been in. But do we think this tournament is going to be considered a success? I mean, for me, I think yes. I think, like you said, Race, is the group stages hadn't gone particularly to plan, but I think the quarterfinals, the semi-finals, I think they've held a really good account of themselves. I think, they have been up against it. You've got Julia Gwynn coming off. They had a red card in the last game. Like, they've faced some tough opposition in their route through as well. And I think actually, yeah, I would say it's a success. I don't think there was anything that I'd pick up on and say, well, actually, this wasn't the expectation of Germany. I mean, a final would have been a bonus, but semis is a great result.
I think based off the group stage performance and the manner of their quarterfinal and semi-final performance has changed a lot of minds, because before that, after the Sweden loss, German press were not happy. Like, they were absolutely slating, not happy about how Germany were performing. So I think actually the manner of their win in the quarterfinals, their performance last night will have changed minds. I appreciate that they had red cards and stuff, and I kind of feel like we've looked back on that a little bit and been like, oh, poor Germany. Those two things are things that are in your control. That's poor discipline, and that's something they should be disappointed about. The injuries, absolute nightmare, difficult thing that happens in a major tournament and a very difficult thing to manage. So to then be ill-disciplined twice is not great. So I think that will be a frustration, because yes, like playing the way they did against France down to 10, phenomenal, but you shouldn't have been down to 10 for that foul. Was stupid. So, it is that kind of balance. I think it very much depends on what the media are like over there. There's definite positives to take from that performance. And I think perhaps they'll look at that and say, okay, we've gone through this maybe a bit of a transitional period. We've got a new manager in, we're building, and this is something we can build on. And that grit and resilience sometimes is hard to coach and train until you've gone through it. So actually, the experience of the quarterfinal and the semi-final, I think, will galvanize them as a team and be a huge learning. And I guess, yeah, that's not something you can work on the training pitch, right? Like, that's something you just have to go through. So I think that'll be really valuable.
No, definitely a good account of themselves, this tournament.